Yeah, I heard the beep, and the lights are on. Okay, so this is just a little show and tell more than a workshop on how to build a water tank out of just use this. I use this as a base, a little paper, wood. The only really commercial parts in this thing is the spout assembly and the little um, whatever it's called. I forgot already. My mind is off. Everything else is pretty much whatever you can find in your house, including the shingles, which is just craft paper. I started with just an old a packing tape, empty, whatever, roll. And it just pretty much has the right measurements for a 50,000 gallon tank, which worked out good. But it just wasn't high enough, so I just added up cardstock. I just cut up a strip, whatever size you wanted to lift it up, glue it to it. It worked. I put a little bit more, support. So this is the one that it just has the extra height. Once you have the height, you need to do the base first. I put a piece of wood underneath. I reinforce it because I always do that, and I just added up the bottom part. The bottom part is, I put this, piece by piece, but I'm sure you can find some scribed, whatever, wood, and just cut it in place. And you always have to put the bottom first because the sides will go and hold the bottom. So once you have this and you have the bottom and you have sanded it real nice so it will be very smooth, you have to just mark the sides. By marking the sides, so you can put the little stabs, that's another word that I cannot pronounce, but anyway, the vertical pieces of wood that go here. I make sure that the first one is absolutely straight up and down. Use your square, your whatever you have. And as you put them in, you have to just make them real tight because they are supposed to hold water, so they need to be tight. You cannot have any gaps. Make sure you're following the lines. If you see that there is beginning to be a little not vertical, you can sand a little bit the side just to make sure. At the end, you might have to sand the whole side and make it narrower so it will fit real tight. These pieces are made out of 2x6 wood, and I just put one and push it down so it will be even on the bottom, and as I go, and then later on I can just trim it with the scissors, with the file, with whatever. This is a little not very straight, but it will do. So that's how I made my tank. There's the bottom and the top, and the top just covers the sides of the bottom. To make the bands that hold the sides together, I use wood. I have tried masking tape, I have tried paper, I have tried I don't know how many things, and the thing that worked the best is just a strip of wood. This time I forgot to bring it, but that's okay. Let's see, I have one that is, this one comes apart. Same thing, bottom, top. The strips of wood, the ones in the bottom, they're a little thicker or wider, will be. So I use like 3 or 4 that are like 8x1, and then the middle part is kind of a middle size, so I use 6x1, and the top ones are 4x1 pieces of wood, strip wood. When you take let's say the 8x1, just put it flat on the floor, sand it a little bit. As you sand it, the wood turns to just turn and get in shape. Just sand it on one side, not on both, and it will just. And then just hardly, you don't even need to put signs to follow the thing because the wood is straight, so it's just really easy to put in there, and it looks good, at least in my eye. After that, you can put the little whatever it's called. I forgot the name. What is wrong with me? The fasteners. Oh shoot! I'll pick everything back. Turnbuckles. That's the word. The turnbuckles are. I use the Durango press. The Grand Line also have some. These are a little bigger. I kind of like it. I use two packets at least of these just for the one tank. I just glue them right on top because this is plastic. I use plastic cement. Let it sit on it for a moment. It kind of makes the cement, the plastic soft, and it just sticks right into the wood and it stays. After that, I painted them on, I don't know, I guess I did, doesn't matter. We're gonna talk about painting later on, so just glue them and be done with it. So you're done with the tank itself. The next thing you need to do is the tank support. There. This is the tank support. It just kind of sits under the whole thing. To make the tank support, you have to kind of, I drew an octagon. I used the diameter here, put it just a tad bigger, but I mean a tad because I don't know if you can see it. It just sticks out ever so little. The tank has to sit, maybe you can see now. The tank sits right in the center. But you know, you don't need a big base. I don't think the people in the old days did a big base. They just kind of do the absolute minimum, and that will be it. So I drew an octagon, which is pretty easy to do. Just drew your circle. When you drew your circle, you divide it in 4, and then you divide it again in 4. It's just pretty. Once you had I should have brought I think we sent it off, didn't we? The little drawings?
Yes.
Okay. So once you have it drawn, you have the sides, you know, the measurement of your sides. So you cut the wood, your side, whatever side it is. I use a little jig or whatever it's called. I just build the support for the sides, and then just put the pieces of wood.
What's the paper and the plastic for?
What I do is I have the drawing underneath, and then I just put wax paper on top, and that way the glue is not gonna stick to the cork or the foam or whatever. It just, and then the little braces around is styrene, so it's not gonna stick to anything. I didn't. You can probably take it out by now because it's been here for about a month, so it should be dry. When you build the sides, I use little stoppers here. Come on. That's probably all stuck anyway. I don't know why. There we go. So you get your little tank that looks pretty much like that.
So you use the styrene as a.
The styrene, what it does is to hold it in place for the brace. Hello. And you wanna, oh, okay. So it just holds it in place. And you end up with something like that. You need to build 7 sides, not 8, but 7. Once you build the 7 sides and you have it on your jig here, then you put the first boards that go across. This one in the middle has to be opening here because it holds the pipe that brings the water in or out into the spout, whatever. So you always leave it open, and this will support the spout assembly. Once you have that, then you build up on it. And I have one halfway done somewhere in this mess. Maybe. Anyway, I had the one that is finished. So you have, you start by doing that, then you just keep on building on the sides. In the paperwork that we send in, I specify what sizes the wood is for all, all parts. The wood that we're using around, I think it was like 4 or 2 by 16 or something like that. And that is because you have 2 pieces of wood in here. One of them is like a 4 by 12 that goes from one direction, I think this one, and then the other ones are 4 by 4. So 12 plus 4, that will make 16, and that's what you need in here. I don't take this out of the jig until I am finished with all the wood in here. When you build the, let's say the vertical ones first, these 2 ones are, I think to remember they're 4 by 12, I think it was. While the other ones that are more in, they're 2 by 12. Then again, at the end, you also use the 4 by 12. The same thing goes on here. When you go horizontal, you use one size here, but then over here you reinforce it with a little thicker wood. That's what they did when they built the prototype, so I stick to it. Also, when you do the horizontal parts, you always leave some opening here that you can either cut later on, or you can just, assemble like that already cut. And that's all again for the piping that brings the water to the spout. So that's pretty much how it's done. Once you get it all out, you can see that here is really not very well trimmed or whatever, but you just sand it down and it comes out pretty good. That will sit right here on the water tower support. So there will be like, we're doing like 5 or 6 different parts. The water tank support, or the tank support and the water tank support. So we're gonna go on to this one now, which will be the last one for today. I have tried several ways of doing it. This one is a little different. It's got, the braces are a little smaller, and you got some whiting. That's a pest to build. If you have a, how you call it? A drill press, that's the only way to go. Doing it by hand, the little holes so they will all fit, it's impossible. So after trying several ways, I ended up with this being the easier. Let me see, I have some jigs somewhere. Okay, over here, I have another jig. With the paperwork that I send in, I made a little plan to do for the feet, for the supports. The supports are just, I think they're 12 by 12 wood, and you only need pretty much one one plan, because the other parts, which are right here, hang on. Nope, this is not it. Way to go, me. I don't know. See, we tried this earlier and I thought, I got this done. I don't have to, I just take everything. Not quite. Anyway, whatever. When I did my support here, I just built the one plan and made the jig. The jig actually just all it does is just hold the pieces to the same height. Just put the wood, glue it, take it out. The ones at the end are exactly like that. I just use the middle part. When you put the braces, these are 12 by 12, so the braces are 6 by 8. So you have to put them on touching the 6. It will be 6, 8 on. Jeez, I don't know how to explain that. Anyway, these are 6 by 8. If you put the 6 against the 6, it will make 12, which is the width or the thickness of the wooding here. So you make 2 big ones, 2 little ones. When you make the big ones, you have to put the frost house, which I tried several ways to do it, but it turned out the middle, put it in the middle is the easiest. You use that scribe wood, just sand it so it will fit inside, and it will fit inside, and you push it back so it will, go flush against the back. When you cut the sides, remember that this side is different size than this one, because on this side you're gonna have them inside the frame, while here you don't have a frame. You have to fit. It has to touch the ground and it has to touch the water tank. And I always use bracing and whatnot. In this case, I use I think a stitchy train door. You have to put a door. They have access, but you can put it. I think in the little N scale one, I just build the door out of wood. Just easier than building this, putting a plastic one. When you have all the parts put together, the easier way to do it, and I did it with some of them, is to actually glue the sides to the tank support with a square, because to put it together like I did this one, that's the best. I mean, as a matter of fact, it broke last time that I tried to do this, because it's just hard to hold in place square to put the cross bracing here, which is the only thing holding it. So my advice is build this, and then you can glue it in there using the square and having it all. Then you put the bracing, and that will hold it in place. Just make sure it's all flush, flat, that there's no bumps or nothing. This is one of the pieces that I built. Like you can see, I built a lot of things trying to figure out the easier way to do it. I think, let me see. Yeah. I also built like this one here. I put wood inside, trying to keep it straight, and yeah, it worked. But even with the drill press, I didn't do the holes straight, so that didn't work either. This is a different one that I did for a narrow gauge tank that I did way back when. It's not 100% straight, so I just kind of left it there. This one that is done. Again, this is just trial and error kind of thingy. That's why there's so many pieces. Most of them are errors. Anyway, So that's pretty much it. Next time I'll try to get my head straight better, and we'll talk about the roofs, which is, you know, you can do this type or you can do this, and we'll talk about how to do the spout assembly and all the other details that go with it, you know, the gauge, the little everything else. And I think we're done because I just kind of
Thank you very much. That was very, very, very well done. Thank you.